Sometimes I just got to get it into the theme song, bro. I mean, when you feel it, you feel it. You know, you just. Plus, Xander just said, "I love that song." I was like, "Yeah, so does the world." Welcome to a special Memorial Day episode of the podcast. You and I, sir, have had a weekend and a
Yeah.
half. Of course, if you don't know by now, I'm the Big Show. That's Big E. Um, First of all, happy Memorial Day to everybody.
Can't say that no more.
What? Why? You know what? It's our show. I say what the fuck I want to say.
I just learned on the news about an hour ago that veterans do not like the word happy in front of Memorial Day because for them, it's not happy memories.
Okay, so I'll just be like, Memorial Day, everybody.
The news anchor said Memorial Day greetings.
Uh, Never mind. Never mind. Um, so, um, you
You're
know,
supposed to just say thank you.
well, yeah. Well, thank you to all the men and women that contribute and devote their lives for our freedom. Thank you. And of course, our men and women serving and during crazy times as always.
Yeah.
So, um, you and I had original plans to go to baseball game, inclement
Yeah.
weather, personal issues, etc. brought us to going mini golfing on Saturday, which that was a treat, you know.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we didn't know what to do. I wasn't, again, like you said, I wasn't feeling good. No, folks, didn't have COVID. That should, it's not done, but we're not worried about COVID. Um, yeah, no, I had some of my current health issues spring up over the weekend, which put a damper on some. Yeah, my plan was to be at baseball all weekend. I was supposed to watch baseball all weekend. I was looking forward to it. You know, we had a date night, couples night planned for Saturday, hanging with the boys on Sunday, and then whatever today brought into the mix. Um, but didn't feel good. Had to cancel plans because this heat allows me to, or doesn't allow me to be outside for long periods of time.
yep. And of course, if you would have sat in the heat, it would have been miserable. So, anywho, like we changed plans. We decided we were going to go mini golfing at the
Yeah,
Putt Shack in the Strip District. Shout out to the Putt Shack. Um, then we find out that there's like three mini fucking golfs in the Strip District, and the Strip District isn't what it used to be, which was like what it used to be growing up was
well,
like
we experienced this is like our third reiteration of the strip district because we know the strip district when we were kids, it was the markets, the shops, the stores. Going down there, like our parents would go grocery shopping in the strip district, fresh produce, Woolies for the meats, the butcher shops, the whatever. And then you had your little specialty shops, which are still down there. Like you got Yinzers and some of these little crafty stores, mom and pop places. But then when we got older, we experienced the nightlife strip district, the bars, the nightclubs, all that fun. And now it's back to being an entertainment central, but you still have the markets and the shopping too. So I think it combined a little bit of the both worlds that we experienced and merged it into what it currently is, which isn't bad. I mean, you don't have like nightclubs or anything, but I mean, it's
yeah,
still like a destination place, especially for tourists and out of towners.
yeah, and like there's restaurants, bars, like
Hmm.
like the Putt Shack had a bar inside of it. Um, but it's different, now that it went from fresh produce to the establishment that's now the terminal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, that was my first time like experiencing it, like being getting a chance to walk it and
Yeah.
check it out.
Like
It
I've
was
drove,
cool.
I mean, I drive through the strip district on occasions, but I don't. Yeah, I was first time for us too. Like we never went down and was like, oh, let's go try out the terminal. Like let's go see what all these places are about. So
Yeah. Like I drive but just about past it every day, like for work.
mhm.
So not like I didn't even know that place was in there. And then like once we got there, it was really nice. I pointed out to you, I love the nostalgia, like the video game shit. As soon as you walked in,
Yeah,
um, that was really cool. So for people that have never been, you don't play 18 holes of mini golf. You play nine, and it's
mhm.
divided between was that four different colors?
Yeah. So there's four golf courses, 9 holes apiece. But like, it was weird because like two of the golf courses intertwine on each end of the building.
Yeah,
So it was like for us, our first time being there, it was a little confusing to figure out. Like,
yeah.
okay, we just got done playing hole number two. Where the hell is hole number three? Like, it wasn't like a direct path.
No, it wasn't. Even though they had clear like indicators
They
and
were color
markings
coded.
around, but it still was like you'd have to look up and see the glowing number, and if it was your color, it's like, oh, okay, that's four, that's five. But you had
Yeah,
to
because
like
we
look
were
around.
the emerald. We were the green, the emerald course.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the way the colors were, it gave me such a Sonic vibe
Yeah.
because that's the gems you obtain.
Hmm.
And I like it was neat. I liked it. Um, the girls enjoyed it from what I saw.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it was fun. It had this old retro vibe to it. I mean, the place was modern, but yeah, like the some of the decor was definitely retro. But then, I mean, we don't know how the rest of the courses work because we only got to play we only played one. But like you, like even the course for us was retro. We were talking about it earlier today with Charles. Like, we played an old like the one hole was set up like Tetris. The one hole was set up like Pac-Man, like Trivial Pursuit,
yep,
uh, uh,
air
air
hockey.
air hockey, like just like cool retro stuff. You know, uh, so it made it interesting. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, it would be something I would do again. Now that we've been there and experienced it, we know to like how to like kind of plan ahead for it.
Yeah, and
So
plus, at the end of the day, like it was Saturday in the strip district, very busy, super busy,
yeah,
and and then after, of course, we were trying to find somewhere to eat, and then there was like a line of Permanis in the strip, so we went to Permanis over your way,
yeah.
and that was great. Only man I know that orders dessert before he eats his food, like before he gets appetizers and shit.
Well, I mean, it was on the dessert menu, but to me, that felt like an appetizer.
I mean, I've seen that type of behavior before, but not
Like,
like as
listen,
long as
folks.
like
Listen. To give a little context to this ish situation that he is baffled by. They had waffle for or funnel cake fries. Funnel cake fries. That was not to me not a option. Which I'm not saying it's not to me. That was I'm gonna have before.
I don't know. He's so overwhelmed by the funnel cake fries that he just stopped. He's done. You know what? It just that's it. I'll just carry on the show from here. So We'll just leave him as is, and he'll be okay. But yeah, but as he's frozen in time there, but there was like a chocolate dipping sauce for it, and it was really nice. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, he does. So this is great. So as he's getting himself all back together, and you know, hi, I haven't did this by myself in quite some time. He'll be back, but nevertheless, uh, it had a chocolate dipping sauce. There he is, shows back up.
What
And
the hell just happened?
I don't know, you froze. I made a whole bit out of it. I loved it. I was summing up exactly what happened. Is there was like chocolate dipping sauce and shit like that, and
Did I just disappear or did
you you froze entirely. And I was just saying you were overwhelmed so much by the funnel cake fries that it did this.
like everything on my end went black? Everything did. I lost everything.
Dude, it was pretty fucking funny. So when people run it back, I mean, it was great. But it got to the part where I literally took the helm after you froze. As soon as I was like, yeah. And I watched you and I kept watching you and I was like, okay, he's not coming back.
I don't know what happened.
It was, we were so stuck. And I was like, okay. So anyway, there was like, you know, these fucking, you know, funnel cake fries with a little chocolate dipping sauce. And I was like, he enjoyed it so much, he stuff like this. Like,
I went to go get more. Sorry, folks.
but yeah, so, but it was good. Um, the guy behind us, unfortunately, is not very fond of the word incinerator.
He was traumatized by you.
I know. And I mean, I'm just trying to explain what my job consists of to, little things because, like, I was telling your wife Donna about it and you and shit. And apparently, the guy behind us, even though wearing AirPods, heard the word incinerator and was like, the fuck just happened? Like, he just put it in the incinerator and he
He
was
was
just
looking.
fucking
He was
stuck.
looking for the nearest exit.
Yes. And I was like, wow, we really caught him the fuck off guard. So I just kept rolling with it because that's the type of person I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then yesterday, um, I went to this really dope food truck rally in in the Meadows at the Meadows Casino. There was like 40 to 50 trucks. My mom wanted to do this for like around Mother's Day. She was really adamant about going, and so we went. Got up like every day this weekend was like get up, go, get up, go, get up, go, and we got up, got situated, went in, and again, kind of like to your point, it was hot. So of course, I'm worried about my mom. I'm worried about Brandy, even my stepdad. Like I'm worried about people that he can harm. And like they all did great. They were fine. Um, yeah, there was so fucking much. And then the best part was, like we were talking before, you pay like 21 bucks. You got like sampler tickets, and certain vendors were participating, certain weren't. Like there was a chicken and waffle one that wasn't, but if anybody knows me, I like chicken and waffles, so that's the first thing I went to. I did that, and I grabbed it. I kind of brought it back. I wanted to try my own first, and then I got up and was grabbing other shit. But it
Mm.
was cool because between like 6 to 10 of us, there was enough samples for everybody to try a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you know, little things, and it was nice. It was cute. Like my niece Riley got like a white cheddar mac and cheese with graham crackers and a strawberry sauce. Who this to today was just telling me like, no, you really needed to try that, and I was like, nah, I'm really okay. Like, I don't see how that works, but I told her next time it comes around, I will try it. I will.
I mean, the graham
Because
cracker part doesn't sound bad. It was the strawberry that lost me.
well, you don't like anything, so you know.
No.
You wouldn't have had that dill pickle ice that
Fuck
I had.
no.
And there was like a snow cone ice truck, and Riley and my nephew Christopher grabbed like the sampler. Actually had three decent samples on it, and a whole bunch of flavors, and we were trying it out. And of course, I was making sure Brandy was, if that's okay with her stomach and whatnot. And yeah, it was fine. So I was getting up, and Riley was like, "Uncle Paul, there's like a pickle flavor." I was like, "Sold." So I went over and I grabbed that, some cherry cola, some Tiger's Blood, which Tiger's Blood was more like a cherry pina colada. Cherry cola tastes like if we were eating cherry cola candies. Spot on. Um, and a dill pickle. It's fucking fire. So, um, yeah, like the only thing that was killer was, again, I understand it's Memorial Day weekend. I totally get it, but just a shit ton of people. Like it was just not chaos, but thank God we were able to find somewhere to sit, and it was in the shade, and everybody was okay. Um, but that was a lot of fun. Like that really was. Like they had craft vendors, and then of course they had like whiskey and moonshine. There was a cigar station. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Then I realized I was at the Meadows, so Um, and then of course we came home. Uh, I dropped her off here at the house. Went and picked up the guy, and got us into today. Which, again, up and at it, ready to fucking go. But I was up at 7, like, and that's when you were texting me, "Hey, it's parade day." And then I was kind of doing the same thing, getting my little family together while you're getting yours. And I was like, "All right, we got it." I was pretty much on point. I had everything pretty much set up. So all we had to do was get ready to go. And then uh, we did, but nobody caught it on fucking camera or video. But it was shortly after what is it, the X Live video you did?
Yeah, we went live on X for about 5 minutes, and then at some point after that, yeah, it wasn't too long after that. Um, we had a special guest that never got recorded.
I know. What we wanted and what I petitioned that was going to happen for 2 weeks or 2+ weeks is we actually were sitting there talking to Mayor Gainey. Like, we actually did what we were going to fucking do, and that was talk to Ed Gainey. And that was cool. He was somebody super excited about the draft and what it could do for the city.
Well, I mean, that was kind of like, so this happened last year to us, and that's why I mean, we might have touched on this before, but this is what led to the, we're going to try this again this year. So last year, parade's marching along, and I'm like, dude, there's the mayor. So I start screaming, "Go Big Ed." Mayor's name's Ed, obviously. Dude sees the crazy crowd of us going on. He comes over, shaking hands, doing a little political move. But then he was like, "I got to get a picture with you guys."
Yep.
Got a picture with Mayor, tagged it. We got put on, it's on his Twitter page.
It's still on the Twitter page.
We got a copy. I reposted it at some point last year. But so that led to this year, we got to try that again. But now we got the pod. Like we got it. We got to get this on the pod.
Yeah.
So we, let's step back a little bit. So like we went to the Lawrenceville Memorial Day Parade. We do it every year now. Something we've been growing up doing as kids. Now that we have kids, we've been doing it with ours for a few years now. Might have missed a year or two in there, but it's been pretty steady. So this year's parade was, we were talking about this earlier today. Like this year's parade was like off a little bit. Like didn't seem as long, didn't have as much stuff in it like they normally do. I don't want to say floats, but participants. Um, and it just was out of nowhere. Like, so I saw somebody carrying one of those like banner signs, and it said county whatever her title is, county not commissioner, but whatever. That Sarah and a Murado. And I'm like, oh, dude, here comes the political people. I was like, and before I could even say it to you, I was like, there's the mayor. And you were like, we got to get him on. So I start screaming again, Big Ed, go Big Ed, like I did last year. And just like last year, he came over like, whoa, what's up, guys? You were dealing with the kid for something. I'm
I was
talking.
dealing with my son because literally 5 fucking minutes before the fucking mayor's coming, my son, unbeknownst to him, he sneezes twice and all this just comes pouring out of his nose. Now, it's not blood. He just had some bugs. So I was running the scramble to get a tissue. I'm going to get a tissue. I'm taking care of him. I hear the fucking mayor, and I was like, "Oh my god, here we go!" So I'm like making because dadding comes first. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "All right." And I got him cleaned up, and I came back, and I was sitting there, and I was like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" And then I was like, "Please don't be boogers." I was like, "I don't think you were," and then I think it was condensation because I grabbed something in case I had something in my hands. I did that, and that's when I wiped your back, and you looked at me. I was like it's not boogers, it's what? Because I was gonna go and shake his hand, but like this one wasn't going fast enough. And I was like, this one's good, and I wiped, and I came in, and I was like, hey, but yeah, like, and
But
then that's when you proceeded to talk about the draft with him.
well, yeah. So I was like, I didn't know what to say. Like, I'm like, all right, the mayor's in front of us. He's shaking hands. He's talking to the kids, which was cool. Like he was, saying, happy Memorial Day, shaking hands, thanks for coming out, all that kind of fun stuff. And I was like, hey, I was like, way to go on getting the draft. And his eyes just lit up because, and
And
that's
next
what
thing you know, he's
he
having a
had
conversation
his
with us
Steeler
about it.
hat on. So I was like, that's my in right there. So I was like, hey, thanks for getting that draft here in 2026. I was like, that's going to be a blast. I was like, we'll be there. Don't you worry about it. And he was like, dude, he was so happy to talk about it.
Yep.
I mean, he's on this kick that he's expecting a million people.
Right.
Like he believes that wholeheartedly. And it's almost like, I almost want to believe it. Like, you
Well,
know?
I mean, I love what he said. I love how he said that it's going to bring people back to the city, like people that
Yeah.
left. It was very inspirational. And then like you and I were talking about like what he said about it, and it was very like a pep rally, like a halftime
Yeah.
talk.
So,
Like,
so that's like what I said to him too. I was like, I watched the press conference live last week. So they announced it, like the NFL and them announced it. But then locally, they did a press conference with the mayor, that's Sarah Innamorato, uh, the governor, Mr. Rooney, and then they had the guy from like the Pittsburgh touristy group. And this is what I said. I said to the mayor, I was like, everybody else went up there with like scripted speeches. They all had their little fancy folders, pulled out a
right,
piece of paper, and read their words. You know, some of them I felt okay, maybe they just needed like a reference type of thing. Maybe it wasn't fully scripted. Like the governor's, I think was a little hearted. He kind of spoke from his mind and heart a little bit. But the mayor went up there. This dude was so pimp. He strutted up there, had his Steelers ball cap on, no paper, like no notes, no nothing. He even at one point during the speech was like, toss me that terrible towel. He had somebody in the crowd prepared to throw him a terrible towel. He's waving a terrible towel during his talk. And that's like you just said, like the way I described it was I felt like it was a coach. We'll say a football coach and assistants, since we're talking about the Steelers. Like it felt like a coach giving that pep talk to the team, like right before you go out for like the Super Bowl or a big game. Like he was just so excited and so happy. Like, and it wasn't even so much like he's a football guy, and he's like, this is all, I can't wait to have football in the city. Like, it for me, it was more like he can't wait to show off the city, and that's what he told us today. It was like, I promise the NFL, like, we're gonna have this city cleaned up and prepared to go, and it's gonna be looking beautiful and this and that. And I'm like, if anything else comes from this draft, like besides the economy boost and the fun and everything else it's gonna bring, like if it gets some shit moved along and done in the city that's maybe been lagging behind, like
For
yeah,
years, yeah.
yeah, we know that like we have a homeless problem. We did a whole episode about it. Like, like we know that there's, some things like our cities, it's not dirty, but it's not the most pristine.
Yes,
I mean, you're down there every day. You see what it's like. You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
if it gets some construction projects out of the way, like, let's
Hey,
go.
but we know a guy.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, and by the way, we actually know the guy.
Yeah.
Like,
So that's what I'm saying. So it was like, I think that might be like, and also like a boosty help to the city with this thing coming. But today he was just so like, I think he was walking that parade waiting for somebody to like
right?
say something about it. And I was the one that was like, thanks for bringing that draft to
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. He was like, let's go. Like he was
And then
so,
he, like, that was really good. And then, like, then he looks over at me and like he looks like I want to say something to him, and I'm just like, yo, what you're doing is like, it's just the little things I think are great, just to let them know, like, I love what he's doing for this city,
yeah,
really do. So I was just like, hey, I want to tell you I appreciate what you're doing and what you did and what you're going to do. Keep doing it. And it's like it's
yeah,
kind of that, like reciprocating. It was like, hey, good on you. Look
yeah.
at you. And then like the best part I like about him is I wouldn't say like because you don't know him, but he doesn't give me that stereotypical politician vibe.
No, like I said, like, he, like even in that press conference, like like I said, he went up there and just did him. Like he just, like he had this swagger, like this, like kind of like pimp OG type, like you know what I mean? Like he just
Just
went
like
up there just being himself, and it's like, I mean, I know he was born and raised in the city, like he went to Peabody, so I mean, like he's an inner city student, you know what I mean,
yeah,
like all
like
that. So
the whole
he just never
background.
kind of let that leave him, I guess. You know what I mean? Like he's like, listen, I'm gonna still be me. I'm gonna still do me, even
Right,
though I'm in this role of power.
right.
And it's like, but sometimes though too, that's kind of like it's I don't want to say a blessing and a curse, but like it's just like
I mean, it
we
can
need
be.
we yeah, like we don't need you to be a too little lackadaisy about some shit. Like
Yeah,
you still got a
but I
city
mean,
to run there, buddy.
but my thing is for
I think
I
for like the people, like for us as the citizens of the city, like it's a little bit easier, not easier, but it's a little bit like nicer to relate to a guy like that
yeah,
compared to like you said, somebody that's all stuffy and Mr. Proper, oh, I'm by the book, Mr. Mayor, like
yeah.
no, like
Because
he's
my thing was like I don't know. It's like the little things he does. Like for prime example, when we were done talking to him, and he was like, "Oh, I got candy for the kids,"
yeah,
and like it wasn't like, "No, here you go, here you go." The fact that he took the time and was
yeah,
opening that bag and let like you know Nora or Kane
yeah.
get some, you know, and then I think what he was looking at was like the fact that they're wearing headphones and you know I don't know, maybe because he saw X was older, but he like gave him the patience to go in there, which Xander was nervous because it was like, am I allowed to do this?
And
And
that's and that's what it said. Like he, even before he shook our hands or interacted with us, the adults, the parents of these kids, like he walked right over and he was interacting with the kids.
yep,
Like you said, he was passing out the candy. He's like, "Thanks for coming. How hope you're having fun." Da da da. Like like it wasn't the political bull.
yeah,
That shake hands, keep walking. Shake hands, keep walking.
right. And that's what I
So
liked because like Xander like touched the mirror and I was like, dude, hey, he's like, but like it was
you
to the
can have
point where
Secret
like,
Service on your ass.
but like Ed was like cool with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's where I like that too, where I don't have to explain my son. I like that.
And I think that's the thing too. It's like anytime, not that this happened a million times, but I mean, even in these two instances, I've never said Mr. Mayor. I've never said Mayor Gainey. I've always just said Big Ed, Mr. Ed. Like, I just always used his first name. Like, and I
Right.
don't know, like I just that's just, and
Right.
I think that's what like I think that's what catches his attention because nobody like I don't know how many people do that to
Just
him.
call him
Again,
Ed.
because again he's dealing again with the political world. He's dealing with these stuffy office people 24/7, and they're probably Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, Mr. He probably gets sick of hearing it.
Yeah. Right.
He's like,
But
fuck, somebody knows my name, and it ain't
right.
Mr. Mayor.
But yeah. I said it like that was the plan. The
And
plan
nobody
was,
reported. We got
and
done talking to him.
nobody
He
got it.
walked away. We were like, it happened. It really happened. And we looked around. We were like, did anybody? Nobody.
Yeah. I was like, did anybody get that? Wait, nobody fucking got that?
Yeah.
Damn it! I was pissed, dude.
Yeah.
I was so pissed that when we went to lunch after and shit,
Yeah.
and then I drove home. I
Mm.
looked at Brandy. I was like, I'm still jacked off about Ed Gainey. Like I'm still jacked off about it. But anybody can vouch for it that that happened. That
Yeah.
definitely happened.
We have plenty of witnesses.
Like our stories actually are like they happen. Like not randomness cross country shit, but
Cross country? You mean cross the world?
way across. Anywho, then of course, I would love to know where Ed Gainey goes after. Like, does he go to another one?
No, he option. Yeah, he's probably booked
He's
all
probably
day
all
for.
over that city,
He's probably got appearances at different ceremonies, different events. He's
right?
probably tuckered out by the time of day. He's like a little kid. He's like, I'm ready for bed.
Right? He's like, you know what? I'm gonna eat some of this candy. I mean,
Yeah,
try to get a sugar rush. But I wanted to. I think today was like a weather benefactor. I think if it was a little bit more decent, it probably would have been on. I wouldn't say the scale of last year because last year was really hot. To the point that somebody's skin was bubbling. Like,
and that's the thing. Like we've had years where it's been super hot and yeah, like boiling out, and the rain is for the most part it has always held off for us. I think
yeah,
this year that I can remember in a long time that it's kind of been like, ooh, might rain, like we don't know. But it's just like, yeah, it was just like a very, I don't want to say half-assed, but like, because it was still a decent parade, but it wasn't
yeah,
what we're used to.
it wasn't what it's been in like the past couple of years, and that's why I'm saying it's probably the inclement weather, like just that meh, because it when we got there, well, like okay, like when I woke up this morning, it was dreary, and I was like, ugh,
Yeah.
and then I like opened the door and I'm looking at, it, and I was like, oh, it's not that bad, and then like of course I'm up, well, Xander was up for it first, but anybody who has a special needs kid should know he's up at like the crack of dawn. So, but I walked in the living room. He's like, it's raining, and I was like, oh shit. So that's when I went to the door, and I was like, it's not as bad as I thought. You know
Dude,
what I mean?
I've been playing Joe DiNardo all weekend. Because again, we had outdoor events planned originally. Again, I was supposed to be at baseball all weekend. And it was like, so I've been watching the radar and watching weather maps and watching weather channels all weekend. And it was like, and what they said was pretty much true. Like, because I mean, it would make sense. Like you said, you were up, it was 7-ish, whatever. And they said that there was going to be rain showers during that part of the day. And then it was supposed to disperse by 8, 9 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, that's good. That's good parade time. Like, and
Yeah.
then again, wasn't supposed to kick up until after 1, 2 o'clock.
Right.
So it it worked out, but yeah, I think it did hinder some people's thoughts of going out, doing whatever they were going to do, parade being a part of it. But then like, so we did the parade, went inside as usual, went to the ceremony as usual. and paid our respects there. And then we got back into the main part of the cemetery, and there's like 4 food trucks, barely any people,
Yeah.
no music playing, no classic cars chilling to be, to walk around and check out. I'm like, what is going on?
Wait, I was like, but like backtracking when we were walking in, there was like it was like night and day. Like we walked
Yeah.
in and there was like a lot, not a lot, but like there was like a couple cars, the motorcycles, the band was playing. I was like, great. And then when we came back, I was like, what the
Yeah.
fuck happened? Like,
Yeah. Well, and that's what I said. So I mentioned earlier about the news guy and the Happy Memorial Day thing. It was Channel 2, KDKA. He was reporting exactly from the spot that we were standing in front of by the fountain in that tree.
oh really?
There was people all around him. He's interviewing people, talking about this, showing that, doing this, and I'm like, where the hell were we during all of this?
What?
'Cause
Why?
he was standing right and like, so the cameraman would have been standing in front of that big tree where Britt laid the blanket down.
Where we usually go after the ceremony?
No, well, no, where we were exactly today. And so the cameraman would have been like almost leaning or had that big tree right behind him. And then the reporter guy was standing in front of the fountain right where you and the kids in Char kept running up and down. And I'm like, how did we miss this? And that
Right.
had to have been, obviously it was down when we were doing, so it was like everything happened during while the ceremony was going on, and then once the ceremony was over, everybody dispersed,
Yeah, like that was it.
which was weird because normally that doesn't happen. I mean, we
No,
even
yeah.
watched the food trucks pack up and leave.
Yeah, and that was odd. And we were like, it's this the standard thing we do every year: parade, ceremony, kids play in the fountain, hang out for a little bit. I got to give them kids credit though, because that water was freezing.
Yeah,
But that's never stopped my kid at all.
nope.
Maybe that's why he sounds all hoarse now because he's not sick or anything. So I just
He's drinking that good old fountain water,
yeah, I was like, God bless him.
fountain of youth.
And I feel so bad because there was way too much chlorine in it. And my son
Um,
likes to open his eyes underwater. So I checked on him a couple of times. And it was like the second time I did, it looked like he was hanging out in Snoop Dogg's fucking tour bus
yeah,
all night. And I was like, okay, like you're done. And then I let him do it for like 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes. And that's when, my cousin Charles went and like, I still don't know how he did it,
yeah.
but he got my kid out of water. So I need to know what he did. And the best was when we asked him, he's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just
Because
said
he
like,
was
hey,
even surprised his own kids got out.
yeah. But yeah, like, and then like next thing you know, the food trucks, like that smokehouse took off. And I was like, what is happening? And
Hmm.
then by that time, it was like time to go, you know?
And even then, like, so then we left and we were walking out of the cemetery and we were walking down Butler Street. And even Butler Street turned into like a ghost town. Normally
Yeah.
there's still people wandering, like, the businesses are busy, people are going to the bars, the restaurants, whatever, like it was nothing.
The only thing I saw was when we were going back to the where the cars were was the Abbey was the restaurant there was picked up. Like there was
Yeah, but it was just like, I don't know, it was a weird
it
day.
was just, yeah, it was just a weird vibe. And kind of the point like you made earlier, maybe it was like with the weather, it was like, okay, let's get home, let's, kind of get our family functions or whatever in, food on the grill, kind of get that going.
People didn't have time to, with the weather, they were worried and didn't have time to kind of putz around at the parade or at the event. To They were like, we got to get home and we got to get our organic pork chops on the grill.
Yes, with the hairy armpits and everything. Whatever
All right,
works.
carry armpits and mint leaves.
That's it. Um, but uh but of course, like I was telling Brandy, like we did that before, where we get lunch, sometimes after it, depending.
But then some,
And
like last year, we ate at the food trucks
yeah, we did a little bit of eating there.
because they
And
had that hot dog truck, and I remember because that's what I was telling Brandy. We sat on the other side of the fountain, like down closer to Butler Street, because I remember that's what Jane was even remembering. Like she remembers like chasing because Arcane had, maybe that was 2 years ago, but like we were down there lower. Remember the kids were sword fighting with sticks.
yes, yes,
Nora and Arcane were sword fighting with sticks, but it was like, and we sat in the grass. No, actually, we had a table. There was a picnic table open, and
yeah,
I think the girls still laid a blanket down, but we sat and hung out. We went and got hot dogs because there was that hot dog truck, and we all got hot dogs. And weren't you guys tried ice cream? I don't think we did. Somebody had gotten ice cream. I know Char
me and
maybe.
Charles.
Yeah, because that, and it was like we hung out. We again, there was more to do. Like it wasn't like, all right, you're done, leave. Like
Yeah,
so, yeah, yeah. It's just been. It was a weird day, but I mean, the ceremony was pretty cool. That even the ceremony itself didn't seem as eventful as it has been in the past. Like I feel normally they have more speakers
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because they always have those that lineup of chairs where everybody sit, like the speakers, the guests sit.
yep,
It was just that Marine, the priest, the the cemetery guy that always talked,
yeah. The
and
director.
then they always have like a local Lawrenceville guy that served.
Yes,
Um, that's like the MC, and then there's a couple other military guests or whatever. There was not like, I mean, there was a decent crowd down there. I think the crowd was pretty decent as normal,
yeah.
but they didn't. It was like even that didn't seem as eventful.
No, like, but like I said, it it was off. It just, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was a great way to cap the Memorial Day weekend.
And you know what, too? I like that Marine that spoke. Um, it was different for a change because normally it's kind of like, I mean, obviously know what the meaning of today is, but it's like it wasn't so much the let's talk, like, you have a veteran, a soldier, past or present, current, whatever, come up and talk about what they've gone through, what they've been through, having memories of comrades that have passed away or this or that. Like he was just up there, just kind of just talk. Like he just,
Yeah,
told us about himself, and I mean that's what his dad was a little. Whew, that was a little tough, but and then I mean to hear that story that he survived like that bombing
bombing.
and what was it, Okinawa? I think you said.
Yeah, and then like that, and the fact that he started right off in Beirut, I was like, okay,
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting. It was like very educational in a sense, like
yeah,
just to hear his story. Like I like, and that's one thing, like especially with today or any, and it's more the older vets, obviously, that you know if you chat up, you talk to them and you bring up that wars or them being in the service, like again, like it's not that they're happy to talk about it, they're proud to talk about it.
rightfully so, and they should be.
And it's like I love learning, like that's history, like I like hearing that kind of stuff. um so that was really cool for him to say that, and give that talk. And then the one thing that always I don't want to say gets me, but like I really enjoy out of the whole day, I look forward to it. And I don't say anything to any of you guys, so this is kind of like a first, but I look forward to and they always do it obviously at like the end. I always look forward to the gun salute and then the playing of taps because for one, that's a memory thing with me and my grandfather. But two, the way that the cemetery does it with that dueling um trumpets
Mhm.
where the guy standing in front of us plays and then out of nowhere a second trumpet from the back like almost echoes in.
Yes.
Dude, that is so like so crazy. Like it's so good.
To the point, it almost sounds like it's on a speaker. But if you haven't been, if you've been there as many times as we are, that's how you know. Like the,
Yeah.
you know, but like yeah, that's
So that obviously they did that and that was as good as always. The girl that sang the national anthem was pretty good. She was really good.
yeah. And then of
Um
course they released Doves. That was real cool.
yeah.
But
Um
yeah, yours is taps. Mine's the bagpipes.
oh the bagpipes are good too. Like I
When
I
I
don't
get the, I can't like I not necessarily get emotional,
yeah, that's like
but
I'm saying like
it gets me because I
yeah,
look
but
and I see my sister have a tear in her eye, and I was like, yeah,
yeah, like
the
that's
back,
same thing with me and the trumpets. Like it doesn't like I'm not getting all like teary eyed like I want to start bawling, but it's like you just again you kind of feel like that sense of pride, I guess. Like that
yeah,
sense of like what we're doing here at this moment is good. We're honoring these soldiers. We're honoring these people that have served or again currently serving because that's the other nice thing is they do take a moment to honor the people that currently are serving. They ask them to stand up.
right,
Um, so that's cool. And then no, the bagpipes are cool because, and that's the thing too is like, and again, it's the same thing every year. So it's like we could probably do this off by heart, but like the bagpipes are always happening, and he plays Amazing Grace as they're presenting the wreath.
yep,
And that was the other weird thing is like normally now that guy was a veteran, but they always and I guess that was kind of like for me, I had like a sad moment. And again, I didn't say anything to you guys, like because I was waiting, they always have the oldest vet at the ceremony walk up and present the wreath. And for the past how many years we've had that same well, not the same. I think there's been two different ones, two different older gentlemen that were like what the one was like 100, the other one was like 102.
yeah,
They weren't there. So it's like,
right,
did they pass? Or did they just maybe they held off for the weather? I don't know. Like, so
yeah,
like it was like, oh, like again, you kind of look forward to see, like, cause it's like, okay, those guys are still with us another year.
yeah,
So, but they had the other gentleman do it. He was like a, a preacher or something. So he was the one driving that white truck playing
yeah,
the song with the thing in the bed of the truck, which was pretty cool. But
right,
so he did it. And again, like you said, they play the bagpipes, and then it's like they do taps while right after they do the gun salute. So, and like you said, then they release the doves, and that's once you see the doves, that's the show.
that's it,
But we came to a conclusion this year; those aren't real doves; they're just helium balloons.
and a dove.
No, they were just helium balloons that look like a dove.
Oh,
They just
okay.
float up and they just float off into the atmosphere.
Meanwhile, they're over there. No way, but okay,
It's just a wind. It's just a wind blowing the foil balloon around. It just looks like it's flapping.
right. I mean, yeah, that was different too, like a little change of pace. And of course, there's my cousin's not walking some guy like
But I mean, we talked
so.
about that earlier with him. Like, and to be honest, I think he might get sick of it because we bring it up every time, every year at Memorial Day parade. Like, remember that one year? And he's always like, "Yes, I know." Like, because
Yeah,
he's very like, uh, I don't know what word to use. I know what the word I'm thinking of. I just can't spit it out right now. But he's very like quiet about like the fact that he served. Like, he's
yeah,
reserved about it. Maybe is the word I want to use. Like he's proud. He's definitely a proud,
yeah.
and
He's a
I
proud
mean,
Marine. Yeah,
he still serves, but like
yeah,
he doesn't. He's not. flashing it out there like, hey, look at me, I'm a soldier, like
No, but the
like
one year he did.
the 1 year he did.
The 1 year he did, and he showed up in his dress blues for Memorial Day. That was great. Are you getting on the bus? He was like, "The fuck?" And we are all like, go get on the bus.
Yeah, they thought he was part of the parade, and then he told them no, he wasn't, and they said, well, you are now. And he went,
Yes.
and they took him down to the starting point and had him walk with the veteran,
Yeah.
that other group of Marines, with the flags and everything, and it was so cool. But what was nice is that was, again, we talk about it with him, like he, the 102-year-old guy,
Yeah.
he, Charles helped escort him
To
up
put the
to
wreath
the
on. That was
wreath
great.
to put the wreath on. So that was like, I mean, when we bring it up, he always says like, yeah, he always like that was a
He
good
knows it's
memory.
pretty fucking cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I have that photo on my phone, and it's just like anytime I scroll past it or come across it, I'm always like, that's a good moment. Like that's a good time right there.
That was a good day. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, but yeah, it was just like everything was just a little off
Yeah.
today.
Speaking of off, I'm gonna address the. So I had an issue at the parade. I had a couple, but this one stuck the fuck out. I'm in line to go use a porta potty, and my sister was there, and I know that we have this like telekinesis like thing. If I'm sensing something, I look for her to see if she's seeing the same thing. And I remember I was in line. I turned back, and Noelle's just like, boom. And I'm thinking like, what the fuck? And I look over, and that's when I saw the two girls, and I'm not. I wouldn't even consider that American flag bikini top. Like it was something that
No, they
represented
were. It was floral. It was more of a floral pattern.
floral
I mean,
with like,
granted, yes, it was like red, white, and blue type pattern, but it wasn't specifically like an American
yeah,
flag or a holiday.
right. But then, which I don't care. That's cool. It's still, the colors. I know some people don't like when people wear the American flag. It's like blah blah. Certain clothing, blah blah blah. I got that. But when you wear furry boots that have nothing to do with anything of this day, they're red, white, and blue. I'd have thought Ultimate Warrior. Like, cool. But I'm looking like, did you just? Are you a wildling that just came from fucking Game of Thrones? Like, what's going on with your feet? Like, had to keep looking. Like, why is this
I
legit?
I so I caught them at a different spot than you, because you guys had all went inside. Me and Donna were still standing outside the cemetery. We were waiting Donna was waiting to see if her cousin was coming, and she's standing there, and then she finally gets on the phone because she couldn't find her. And she gets on the phone to call her, and I'm just standing there kind of looking around, because there's a lot. Again, the crowd was moving. I'm like, it's Lawrenceville. I'm going to see if I know anybody catching, see anybody old school from the neighborhood or whatever. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I was like, no, oh God. I immediately turned my head and put it down, and it wasn't out of like it. My mind said, what is she wearing?
Yeah.
And like you said, it it was the littlest bikini top. It was one of those ones like what do they I think they girls call them like micro bikinis or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a little top, just barely covering what it needed to cover.
Yes.
And then she had on, I guess, some type of swimming trunk bottom, but they were like a boy short type cut,
Yeah.
but they were very tight, which I get it. It's a bathing suit, but very short.
Yes.
And
And then
and then the boots. Like you said, they were furry. She looked like a Bigfoot
it didn't
boot.
make any fucking sense. It
But here,
didn't.
so her clothing choice blew my mind. Blew my mind. What bothered me that made me put my head down and say, no, that girl had to be the same age as my teenage daughter.
Yeah.
They were not full grown adults. They were not some idiot crackhead that walked out the door and decided that's what they were going to wear for the day. Like, this was a young girl with a second young girl that was wearing something just as
Yeah.
skimpy.
Yep.
He just wasn't wearing the dumb brown boots,
Furry. Dumb brown
furry
boots.
brown boots. So, and then I think there was at least one, maybe a second. So it was like a group of young teens, kids, like two girls, two boys. And if that was my daughter, I should have been grounded until she was 45. Like, I don't, like, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, and it's like, oh, well, she could have been wearing something else, but then when she got out of the house, she changed. Like, what? Like, what? I don't, like, if I'd have found out that my daughter was out in public dressed like that, and it was like, and
Right.
again, the choice of matching was an issue just fashion sense wise, but I just had a problem with it, like, appropriate, not aged right. Like, not saying
Right.
any age would have been proper to wear that, like, but like, like, when it caught my eye and I realized they were young girls, like, I immediately had that, like, oh my God, creepy old guy, like, feel. Even though I
Yeah.
wasn't like gawking or staring, it was just like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it
Yeah.
all,
I
and
totally
also
get it.
like my inner, well, yeah, my inner parental like self was like, go over there and smack that girl and be like, put some clothes on. Like, and then the night we finally caught up to you guys, and you were like, did you see this girl wearing the? And I'm like, bro, she's standing right there. And you'd look, and you're like, oh yeah, that one. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I give a
I
fuck
saw it
that
all.
one.
I saw it all.
What I don't like, what was going in my mind because I'm trying to be like, you know, quiet. The service is going on and shit.
Yeah,
And I'm just thinking to myself, I was like, did this bitch come from Alaska to Hawaii like real quick and just couldn't change her fucking shoes or her boots? And then I don't know. I was more fixated on them boots. Like, what the fuck? Because they were like, if you were like how me and Xander were wearing them long socks today, it was
yeah.
about that high. And I was just like, I just don't fucking get it.
Oh, they
I
were they were mid to upper calf.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, like that's a bad fashion sense for me. Like that's a bad choice. It's not a good look. And now overall, it's not a good look at all.
No, it was like I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, it was, yeah, that was, I mean, because when you're at events like that, you're always people watching. Like I said, I mean, I was purposely people watching just to see if there was anybody I knew. Um, because you always run into some people from the old hood,
Right.
but it was like, and you people watch just to see against some people from the old hood. Like,
I mean, if we didn't people watch, this show wouldn't exist.
yeah. So it's like I was looking to see if there was any downfalls out there in public, and well, we found one.
Yeah,
But
I just, I don't know. Like, I don't know. You just don't. I don't know. It didn't work for me. I, I just couldn't. And the other thing that killed me was that old like man or whatever at the fountain. I
oh,
don't
the
know if
one,
you saw him, but that's when I came back and walked and saw you and
yeah,
Robert. Like, y'all see that old fucking man in the fountain?
yeah.
And like it was like the most stereotypical shit. Like and of course, I'm putting it out there. He's some random white guy doing random white guy shit, and I fucking hated every fucking second of it. Where he's like, "Oh, it sure is cold." No fucking shit. Like, no shit. It's like then he gets in there and he's like, "Oh, I'll drop my temperature a little bit," and I'm like. I looked at Brittany. I was like, I gotta go. Like
Yeah.
I had to walk away. And then I was walking away, and I looked back at him. I was waiting for him to start unbuttoning his shirt, have a little chest hair out, you know, his little necklaces, you know, because
He kind of had like a Ron Jeremy vibe.
yes, 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 and that was just the only thing that killed me is him. Definitely talk. He just gave me every like Caucasian stereotype when he was like, "Oh, sure is cold in here," and I was like,
Mhm.
"Is it? Is it? No shit. Okay, I'm gonna drop my blood temperature a little bit."
Hey, maybe he missed his daily cold plunge.
I mean, didn't stop my kid.
No, didn't stop a lot of the kids that were there.
No, and the other thing
Didn't
I
stop
like,
Charles from getting in there either.
no, I can't believe I couldn't believe he got in there. Like that was the first. That's never happened.
Dude, Britt saw him in that fountain uh, for a woman with a broken kneecap. She darted down there. She was like, "Photo op, photo op!" Like
Yeah, right.
she was
And
like,
she was talking to that photographer.
"I didn't see that."
So if you remember during the parade, he was taking pictures of the kids. Like the well, not the, I don't want to make it like he's a creeper, but it was like he was taking pictures of like the parade, and he took a picture of like the kids. I think like us in front of it. You know, I thought he was part of it, and then later he asked Brittany if that was like her kids, and she's like, "Well, yeah, these are my kids, and that's my cousin's teenager boy right here." And he's like, "Oh, do you think it'd be okay if I took a photo of him?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, but then of course Britt asked questions like, hey, like why?" And then he was like, "Oh, like I'm a photographer. I got this is my Instagram." And of course Brittany was like, "Oh, I don't have one." And then this is Brittany was telling me, and I was like, "All right, well, give me his Instagram." You know what I mean? 'Cause I'll check it out.
Mm,
And but I think he was taking pictures for the for like the parade, like for like Lawrenceville, like there's everybody's socials kind of deal.
yeah,
So he took a real nice photo of Char, Char and the kids, and of course it commemorates Charles getting in the fucking water. And what I thought was funny is in the background there's Xander, like, "Hey, this water's great," like it really was, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But yeah, like the pictures turned out really good. But I was wondering like who Brittany was talking to. But then it made sense because I saw the camera, and again, as a parent, you're like, "The fuck are you taking pictures of my kid for?"
yeah,
Especially in this day and age, you know. And I, I obviously like nothing bad. I trust Brittany with my kid for sure.
yeah.
And if I didn't, he wouldn't love Brittany the way he does. Um, but so I came over and I was like, "What was that about?" She's like, "Oh, you saw that?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like then I was like starting to get like a little pissy, like, "What the fuck was that about?" And that's when she explained that he was a photographer for like the whole situation.
Like they
Um,
hired him almost.
I think so, yeah. So I'll get with her and have check out his Instagram photos and you know shout him out. But I like that because I it's it's so crazy that it's happened. We've either been in some news, paper clipping or article. We've talked to the mayor. We like I don't know. Even though we don't try to be involved, like like we don't make it. Except this year, like we wanted to get with Ed, but every year we've nonchalantly got in the media some fucking how. Like every year we've got in there, and that's been the craziest. Like that's why I love the Lawrenceville Day Parade. Like, I just love the Lawrenceville Memorial Day Parade. It's just always been fun because we're like not going there with intentions again, except this year. Like I wanted what
No,
I
and like
got.
I said at the beginning, like it's just been tradition for us. Like, I was explaining this to Jane earlier, like because when we were standing down there, when Xander Oh, I love that kid to death. Um, the whole cookie incident,
Oh my god.
the cupcake slash cookie incident. So we can get to that in a minute if you want. But so we're standing there waiting for the cookie thing, and there was that school bus, and I joked around and I was like, "Hey, you think that thing will give us a ride back up to the fountain?" The girls automatically were like, "No," and I was like, "Don't know till you try." And then I hear the lady that was standing outside of the bus. She's like, "Anybody going up to the post? You need to ride up to the post. This is going to the post." And I'm like, "Oh, so it is a ride, just not where we're going." Like, and Jane was like, "Well, what's the post?" And I'm like, so again, this I had to explain to her, and it was like a nostalgia moment for me because so in Lawrenceville they have like a VFW, like a post, and it's right up the street from where my grandparents lived, um, in Lawrenceville. And again, this was always a yearly tradition with my grandfather going to the Memorial Day parade. Proud soldier, proud, American. Like he loved going to the parade. So we would all go back to their house and have a huge cookout at after the parade. But while this is old school, folks, don't get mad at me. While the women were all cooking and preparing the cookout, my grandfather would take me because at the time I was the only boy, and I'm the oldest grandchild. So everybody else was also kind of little. So he would take me up. Again, we could walk. It was only like 2 blocks from their house to the post. And when you go up there, they do a separate ceremony. They do a separate gun salute. They lower the flag and they fold it, the triangle fold, and they
Yeah.
honor it to a family member or to a soldier that day. So my grandfather always went up to be part of that also. So yeah, so this like Memorial Day thing, it's like it's not so much that it's just, growing up in Lawrenceville or anything like that. For me, there's a lot of like just, you know, me and my grandfather, like it's just what we did. And I mean, he loved he loved his military stuff and all that. But
Yeah.
so it's just like for me, like, and it was just something that I wanted to carry on with my daughter. Like I said, like even when she was little, like we didn't go when she was a baby. It wasn't until they got to like, I guess, past toddler stage, I guess that we would consider it. Like when they got into like kindergarten, elementary school, like they started like kindergarten, first grade.
Yep.
That's when I'm like, okay, she's old enough. Let's go to this parade now. And then we started hooking up with you guys, and like you said, your sister and Charles and Britt started coming once they. I mean, I think they came before the kids, but not as much as they make it a point to come every year now too.
Right.
Your mom comes whenever she can, like
Yeah. It's like my
so. It's
mom
just
hasn't been there in
yeah, it's been a couple.
a long,
Yeah,
like,
but and I want to get my mom back to come down once, you know, at least one time. I don't know, maybe that'll be my goal for next year. Let's work
right.
on that. Mom's at the parade next year.
Yeah. I mean, we already did our Gainey thing, so it's fine.
Yeah. Oh well, no, we'll still because we got to do it again. We got to get moms to meet Evgeny.
That's it. Might as well. And then by
Like
that time, hopefully by next year, I'll be like, oh, by the way, hey, Big Ed, say hi to
one
the
more,
podcast.
one more year, Big Ed, and we got the draft. We'll be one more year
Right. One
closer.
more year. Um,
But yeah,
yeah.
no, like we'll use that as our let's use that as our bargaining chip. Like, listen, like mom, Darlene's coming to the parade. You got to go. Like, you got to go hang out with Dar at the
Yeah.
parade.
You got to go.
And then you got to be like, mom, Eric's mom's going to be at the parade. Like, you got to go.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I mean, come on. Like, when's the last time y'all were in Lawrenceville together? Yeah. I don't know. Me neither. Anyway.
Put,
But
putting us, putting
I
us on a
think,
fucking cab, going to
yeah,
school.
right. I was talking to, I think it was Charles today. Like, I remember the year like my gram went, and that was
Um,
nice. And again, I think is that the year we were in the Post Gazette?
might have been.
I
I don't
think that's
remember.
when they took like they took that photo or something, and we didn't even know we were in it.
Yeah, it was like they were just like again, they were just like taking a giant picture of the crowd. And that's the thing is we always stand every year at the beginning of the cemetery where the parade kind of disperses. Half the floats or participants leave for the day. They go down, they continue down Butler Street to like the pack it up and go away, or the other half splits off to the right and goes into the cemetery, and they're going to be part of the ceremony and part of the festivities or whatever. So we stand right there where there's a lot of action, a lot of action.
Yep.
So uh, that's where, like, again, I think we get caught up in some of this stuff that we do because we're at a prime spot.
Yeah, it's been like that for shit
We're right
years.
by the stage, where the stuff's going on the stage. Which again, they didn't do that like this year too.
That's what I was telling Brandy. I was like, I was trying to give her like the history of
I felt so bad, and I said this there, and I really did. I was like, I know you've hyped this up for her for the past couple of weeks. Like, we're going, you were excited to bring her to the Memorial Day parade, to hang out with all of us, but to experience what we've experienced again for the past couple of years. Like, I don't know what it's like up there for them in her town, what they do for Memorial Day, but like, Lawrenceville is known to have like one of the biggest parades in the nation. Like,
yeah.
so it's like I I felt so bad that she comes and I was like, dude, it was a bummer year. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was like I was trying to tell her about like how Mr. Need would announce who's blah 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 blah, like, and then who Mr. Need was, and then like giving her the history of that,
Yeah,
and then um, I just took the minute to because it wasn't like St. Patty's Day,
yeah,
so we weren't coming from one direction, we were going towards where you and I lived and all down that way.
yeah,
So I was as we were going to have lunch, I was giving her a little bit of like my
for
childhood. Like, hey, this was this, and blah 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 blah. And then I was like, oh, remember I told you about Mr. Need? This is where the restaurant used to be. This is where like the Need's fish was, and this is what it was known for.
yeah,
And she was like, yeah, she, she was just involved. But it was
yeah,
just like when I got done, I'm thinking to myself, I was like, fuck. Like I did. I really had my own epiphany. Like shit,
yeah.
because
Like I said, it was just we did that too. Like, because I did the same thing. I drove straight down Butler because I was like, I'm not even trying 28. I'm just Butler Bridge, boom, like there.
yeah.
And we at the light right before you turn on to the um whatchamacallit, the
Is that Highland Park?
no, not the Highland Park Bridge, the Fleming Bridge.
Hmm.
Um that auto body shop is right there. I think it's painted blue now.
Oh
It's
yeah,
it's right on the right before you turn onto the bridge. That's where my dad worked growing up as a kid. Like he was a mechanic or a auto body tech there. So I was like telling Jane and Donna that I was like, that's where my father worked. Like I was in that. I used to go in there and help them pound dents out of cars. And they used to have two Doberman pinchers that like were like the shop dogs, the guard dogs. And I would play with the dogs. And I remember like if they would act up or like they wouldn't get out of your way, like they were being annoying, they were deathly afraid of the hose. So you would pull out the hose and just squirt them.
and they
So
would lose their shit.
they would lose their shit and go run and hide. But like I remember, like you said, so it's just like you drive through like the old neighborhoods and stuff like that, and it's just like, yeah, you have memories, and you're like, oh, I remember doing this. We used to do that. Like we used to hang out here, like like we used to go down and ride our bikes on the railroad tracks. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's cool to like drive through and just see that, and then just again to see the changes because even again we were just there for St. Patrick's Day. Granted, we didn't go down that end, like you said, where we lived, but like I think I might have been over there another time for something. Well, I'm always over there because I bowl, but like again, I don't always go down to the 50ish block,
Yeah.
the 50 whatever's. But like even down there, there's some newer shit that I didn't know. Like before you get to like the Shop and Save Plaza and all that, like those couple blocks there, like what was that? Where Vern's video was that was down on the corner. Like some of that block there is like changed, and there's like I don't even know what they are, but like these new retro places or
Yeah.
whatever, like modern shops. So it's like, and it's good to see because again, these were buildings even when we were growing up were abandoned and just empty,
Yeah.
and they were that way for years. And it's good to see that they're getting used. Will I go in them? I might not shop or eat or drink whatever they're serving, but it's just at least good to see that they're being used. Like, you know, and that's kind of the way it is over here. Like in our neighborhood now, like where we live over here in Beachview, like this is where Donna was born and raised, lived all of her life here. You know what I mean? So for her, she's still living and dealing with change. Yeah, we moved out of Lawrenceville, so we come and go. So again, like we like, oh wow, that changed, and then we leave and then come back another time and like, oh shit, look at that. But for her, she sees it, she's living it still, the change. And we were just talking about this the other day. And so our neighborhood is a predominantly Spanish Mexican neighborhood.
Mexican American. Yeah.
Yeah. So um I told Donna, like kind of joking around about this the other day, I was like, I feel like there's double the amount of Spanish people than there was like a month ago. Like
Yeah.
it has gone crazy. Like there's Spanish people everywhere. But I told her, I'm like, I don't care though. Like they don't bother me. They're very nice, respective people. You know, if they speak English, we we chat. Well, if I see them in the neighborhood or we cross paths, whatever, I say hi, they say hi. A lot of times that's all you get. But like for her, like, you know, there's been a couple older buildings that have been torn down that she's like, oh, I remember that used to be an old pizza shop that we used to get, same thing, like growing up as kids, our parents always ordered pizza from there, but now it's gone. The city demolished it. It was just, but the buildings that were at least salvageable, the Mexicans and the Spanish people are buying them and they're turning them into shops. And again, I mean, I'll eat certain, like I eat Mexican, but not like crazy, but like, I'm not going to go in there like every once in a while, maybe I'll get something from there. But it's like I don't as long as they're reviving the neighborhood and making it look better, because I'd rather there be a shop in there again, whether I use the shop or not, or eat at the restaurant or the bar or whatever it is that they put in. I'd rather it being used and being used for good than it just being this empty, deteriorated, ugly
Structure.
shit just chilling in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you guys were just here on Saturday. Like, there's a church that's a few blocks up the street from us. Donna says she couldn't even remember as a kid that church ever being used. Now, I've been over here with her for almost 20 years, and that church was never, it was always empty, boarded up. They turned it into a Catholic, like Spanish edition, whatever you want to, like,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Got you.
and it's a beautiful church. Like it's beautiful. The work that they did. I mean, I have not been inside, but they have big glass windows. I mean, the glass windows alone they put in is so beautiful, and the stonework, and you can kind of see inside, and it's just like holy crap. Like, and they use it. Does it annoy me sometimes because they have service like 3 days a week, like definitely Saturday, Sundays, and then like I think it's like Wednesday or Thursday nights.
Yeah.
And again, it's a residential neighborhood. They don't have a parking lot or anything. So the cars, it gets crowded.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the parking doesn't extend all the way to my street, but if you're trying to get out and get around for the evening or the day, it's a
Yeah.
little, it's a little tricky.
Right.
Uh, so it's kind of annoying, but they do it right because I mean, I call them their CIA agents. They have guys with little earpieces and the orange like construction vests, and they're out there directing traffic. They valet park for people. Again, they don't got a lot, but they go park people's cars for them. They just like drop, people hop out, go into church, and they go park the car.
They they do what they got to do.
Yeah. So it's So, but like what I was getting to though is like just going into the neighborhoods and seeing like the changes is good. And I know I took my mom through Lawrenceville. This was again. Let's use this. Pre-pandemic. Like this was prior to the pandemic, but it was like we rolled through Lawrenceville for something. She came down. Um, we were doing something, a family event. I don't know, some type of a wedding, shower of some sort, something. But my
Yeah.
mom had come down from Butler to back down, and I was like, let's. We were close to Lawrenceville, and I said, let's go through Lawrenceville. And even then, it's not what it is now. It was just like at the early stages of the change
Mm,
of what Lawrenceville is now. So again, like it was maybe only a few blocks have been updated. Again, more towards 40th Street, like where Arsenal Bowling is, and what's the big bar across from there?
industry.
Industry, yeah, like that stuff had just opened. Row House Cinemas was in there.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because like I again, there's a lot of change going on in our neighborhood now, and it reminds me of like what happened to Lawrenceville. Again, different dynamic, I guess you want to call it. Like I said,
Yeah.
a lot of Spanish stuff. But the there used to be an old movie theater. Again, Donna was like, "Oh yeah, that's like one of those little cheap, $5 movies that's only open like, you know, 2 nights a week and maybe on weekends or whatever, but it's like $5." And they always show like movies after they've come out of the big theaters.
Mm.
Like they'll throw it in there for a couple days. Row House Cinemas bought it and is reopening.
See,
I'm like,
nothing
well,
wrong
at least
with that.
I think it'll be done right.
Yeah. Right.
So
But
it's just crazy.
I was like, I see. That's the thing is like, um, I guess I would frequent Lawrenceville more because, like, one, like we have two good friends that lived right at the top of the hill, which are Jen and
Yeah,
Chris. They live in Stanton Heights, so of course I'm always driving through Lawrenceville or some on the outskirts to get to them,
yeah,
and or Brandon's up there with his dad, so I'm kind of, I mean, it still catches me by surprise. Like if a
yeah,
certain structure got changed or something, like, oh, well, I know that. Like that's cool. Or
yeah,
I didn't know this. And then um, but if my thing is doesn't matter, not like it was a problem. But it doesn't matter how it goes as long as it's making money for either the city or the community,
yeah.
like instead of it not, you know. And that I'm it's I think it's shocking that how much Lawrenceville has changed, but in I guess a good way, you
Yeah.
know. And it's it's just crazy when you look back at it. It's like, oh well, I remember this building was fucking abandoned. I remember this one was a fucking, or this
Or like I
was
think too with Lawrenceville, like again, like the difference between like my neighborhood now and then like old Lawrenceville, like old Lawrenceville still had a lot of the old industrial, the warehouses, the factories, the buildings, the steel mill type places like that were
yeah,
abandoned and empty. And, you know, a lot of those properties were bought and the buildings were taken down. And a lot of them have been turned into like condos or townhomes, apartment
right,
complexes. Like it's crazy again because like I said, like for me, like I think it's kind of like what you were just saying, like I'm starting to frequent it more than I used to because again, like I bowl over there now. So I'm there once a week, for the whole like fall, winter time. That's when the bowling league is. Um, so like I'm over there a lot more. But right behind the bowling alley was old St. John Newman church and then Catholic school. And granted, we didn't go to Catholic school, but we knew a lot of people that went there.
right,
That was kind of the thing. Like if you didn't go to Pittsburgh public schools in our neighborhood, you went to St. John Newman.
yes,
Or there was one up in Bloomfield. There was like another Catholic school up there that kids would go to. St. Joe's, St. John's, or something like that. But
It's something
so
like
now,
that.
so now again, it's being turned into like it's crazy because like again, I've been over there and I'm seeing the progress week to week of them turning this into like condominium or like little apartment
Yeah,
townhome type things, and it's like Jesus, like it's so crazy.
right. Just do me a favor. Don't touch your funeral home, because
Oh, well, that's the
Zalewski's.
Zalewski's, yeah.
I was like, I'll fight somebody.
Well, yeah, because they closed. So like it was as weird as again as in old Lawrenceville. If you're not from Lawrenceville and you're watching this might be a shocker. I don't know, maybe not. Um, Growing up in Lawrenceville, we had three. Uh, I don't know what you want to. Again, I'm lost for words today.
Three
Like,
funeral homes.
yeah, there was three funeral homes, but they were very like I don't want to say popular. That sounds horrible, but
No.
they were like very predominant.
Yeah. Well, they like if you were from Lawrenceville, you knew of these three.
Yeah,
Like that was like,
and that was the thing. But what I was going to say was, is you knew the three, but everybody's family dealt with the one. They all picked one.
yeah.
Like for us, like my family, anytime somebody passed away, we used Murray's funeral home.
Hmm.
Mr. Murray took care of everything for like when my grandfather passed away, my grandmother passed away, my great grandfather, like plenty. Like my I had an uncle there. Like so many people, sadly, that have passed away in the family went. That's the funeral home we went to. Or families would just they had like a relationship and would use Zalewski's. Like it was
Bro,
there.
I'll take it. Like that's what we did. We had a
Yeah, like
great relationship with Walter and them ever since my great grandparents, and that's just we just stuck with what we knew.
and then the other one was the Salandros
Yeah.
right there on the corner uh by the Boys and Girls Club, and it's like I've been to that one numerous times for certain things too. Like
Yep.
so, it's like yeah, it was like weird. Like so, yeah, don't touch our. But Murray's is gone. Murray's is he. I mean, he retired and shut down the business. Like you know, I don't think it's changed into anything yet. The building's still there, but I don't think it's turned into anything.
But people that do know Lawrenceville and do know the history of Lawrenceville are going to talk shit on us because they're going to tell us about the fourth funeral home. And that's where I'm going to chime in and say, yeah, it is a funeral home. It's not no more. It's
Oh,
the Abbey.
but that wasn't a
But
funeral.
nobody really knew about it. You know what I mean? This wasn't like the big three. The big three were the three we just talked about. I don't
Yeah,
remember
I'd
anybody
never
being
been
laid
in
out.
there. I'd never been in there growing up in
Neither
Lawrenceville.
have
Like
I.
never went there because that's the thing though is I don't was I think at some point it wasn't a functional funeral home for a while,
Well,
and then
maybe that's because when we would take the fucking bus there, like the bus on the route to, I think it was either Perry or Columbus Middle School, one of the two. But when you would drive past it, they would have who's ever laid out in the back of the fucking building.
yeah,
They would have this a light, like a very dim light on that casket or whatever they were being laid out in. And I swear I say it a testament to this day that it was not tinted out the front doors enough,
no,
and you could see that fucking. Now mind you, just so people don't get it twisted, it wasn't like the casket was open and you could see the body,
yeah,
but you could see the casket. Now, will we ever know if there was somebody in it or not? I'm sure. Hopefully there isn't or wasn't. But you know, the if I owned a funeral parlor, I don't think it'd want to be like, hey, look at that casket. Like, that's not gonna bring me in.
some boost sales.
That's not. It's not gonna be like, you know what? It's a nice looking fucking casket right there. I think I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah,
No, but what killed me is like you, never been in there, never. Excuse me. And then when they closed, and then I was hearing there was a restaurant buying it, like they were gonna do like a restaurant in there. I was like, well, that's weird. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it went from a funeral home to a fucking restaurant. And then with the craziness as my life was and is, Xander's mom ended up working there. So I'd go and visit her a couple times, and that's when I was able to go in. Like that's when I went in.
I still
And
have not
then
been in there even as a restaurant.
and what killed me was like I remember walking in the first time into the Abbey. Still the same structure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the first fucking thing I did, bro, was walked to where that casket would have fucking been and just been like, all right. That way I could just say in my 30 some fucking years, because that's when I was there. I think it was like 35, 36. I was like, all right. Like I did what I wanted to do since I was a kid. Like I just need to know what was
Yeah.
here. And what's crazy enough is I remember a couple of the bartenders was like, yo, this place is haunted. And I was like, it's a fucking funeral home. Like, come on. Like, no matter how you look at it,
Yeah.
if I believe if any buildings in Lawrenceville could talk, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I
Um,
mean, it's crazy, but it's nice again to get back there. Um, just to be able to participate in still some of the Lawrenceville traditional events. You
yeah,
know that they do still have. Um, it's we've been doing it. We're going to continue to do it.
right.
We'll be there next year, Mr. Mayor. Big
Big
Ed. You know
Ed.
you know where to find us.
I was like, you address him as Big Ed.
I do.
Um, my thing was like,
We're gonna have to
I
start
said it
calling them. We're gonna start have to call them. We're gonna say draft Ed. Listen here, draft Ed.
draft Ed. That way he can be drafted. Yeah. See. Um, but like I told um Brandy and Xander this morning, I was like, come on, I want to go home, and that's what it is. Like I want to go home. Like to me, that's always my home. So it's
Yep.
like when I go, I like to enjoy being home, and then reality sets in. And I'm like, I know why the fuck I left here.
Yeah. Excuse me. I said that. I think it was this morning. No, 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 no. Last night I went and picked Jane up from work, and we got home, and I was like, I'm saying this now. Do what you do. What you got to do to prepare for tomorrow morning. We are walking out this door at 9 a.m. If you are not behind me and in the car when I hit start and that gas pedal is being pressed, I'm leaving you. Like, we are going to Lawrenceville, and I'm not like, we're going.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like again, I love my son to death, but I was like, we're going home, and Xander's like, we are home, and I was like, are we though? Like, but I was like, yeah, we are. I was like, but we're gonna go where Daddy like grew up. We're gonna go to the parade. And
yeah.
that's when he's like, "Oh, the parade." And I'm like, "All right." And then that's what I said to you and Charles. Is like, you can tell we're home, like because just the shit that was going on. I was just like, "Yep,
Yeah, because again, like the true Lawrenceville,
it's in
there's
there."
still there's still diehard Lawrenceville people that still live there and have lived through the change and have lived through the bad times in Lawrenceville. I mean, you figure
Yep.
that's when our parents got us out, because who knew what the outcome was going to be? I think if they knew that it was going to turn into what Lawrenceville is now, they probably would have stayed again and fought through it like some of the others have. Again, like you said, we still have friends and family that do live over there, which again allows us to frequent that neighborhood or and just the area in general. But like, yeah, you go back and you're just like, oh man, oh, there's so and so, boy, they have not changed a bit.
Yeah, like that's how it was. As soon as when I saw Britt and Charles, I walked over, like hugging them, telling them, "Hey, how's it going?" Whatever. And then I just like did that looky loo around because I always take it in. I always take it in.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking around and I was like, well, look, there's blah blah blah. And then like you could tell who is Lawrenceville. Like bang. And I'm just like, yeah, okay. Like
Yeah, and then it's like it's crazy because like some of these people still like you notice them, like you see the face and you're like, oh, that's so and so. Like wow, like yeah, they've gotten older, they've changed, but they still look this like the facial like you're like, okay, you've aged about 30 freaking years, but I
right.
know it's still you. Like I said, we were a little delayed behind you guys getting to the ceremony, and we're walking behind this lady and her daughter, and then another person. There was like three of them, and the girl was pushing a stroller, and the mom, I'm like, I know that lady. Again, Lawrenceville. And then the daughter stopped to turn around to like, I guess they were looking for somebody or whatever. She stopped to like look backwards, and she like kind of crossed looks with me, and I'm like, oh shit. And I was like, Donna was like, is we good? And I was like, yeah. I was like, no. I was like, that girl grew up with. She would know your sister, but I think she was more friends with like my sister and like my cousin Stacy and them. And I was like, I'm pretty sure her name's Amanda. I was like, she's Lawrenceville. Like she just, I was like, and I'm guessing that's her kid. She's pushing in a stroller. But it was like, yeah, like you see people and you're like, like I pointed out, I was like, hey, look though, the Coin family is across the street. Like,
Well, that's what Noelle said. Noelle was like, "Did you see Marty and Coin?" I was like, "No."
yeah, she was
Like,
over. She
no.
was,
I was like, I wasn't like, I'd look, but my thing is like, I don't try to fixate, but unless I'm like determined to figure out who the fuck they are. Like
yeah.
later, when Noelle was like,
Oh, that
"Hey,
dude,
this dude knows who
McBeaver.
I am," Big Beaver. She was like, "This dude, he says he knows me." I was like, "Well, what's his name?" He was just like, "Joe." I was like, "Who the fuck is Joe?"
Yeah.
And then she's like, "No, he's back there." So I'm like walking, and I'm like, again, me and Noelle night and day. Noelle be like, "Who the fuck are you?" I'm trying to be like, know who you are before I go, "Who the fuck are you?" And then like I'm looking at him, I was like, "Dude, I don't know him. Like I just didn't." And then
Again, I
I was like,
recognized the face. Like again, he had that face where I was like, oh, he's Lawrenceville. I think he was down your guys' way. When Yins lived on 38th.
"Okay,
When Yins lived across the street from the
the
Cobers.
Cobers."
Yeah, yeah. I think he's from that end. Like he's from down there, like that general area. Like he probably knew Ray. Like he was
It's
probably part.
Joey fucking Bridge.
Oh shit! Oh man!
It
See,
took me all fucking day to realize who the fuck that was.
like if this conversation would have came up there again, like I remember your sister asking you who he was because that's when I from the background was like, that's McBeaver. Um, uh, like we probably would have figured it out because like I said, because I got curious when she was like, yeah, dude, like, and I'm like, well, maybe I know who it is, and I looked over that way, and I'm like, oh, the face does like, uh, and then I was like, I didn't know who he was. I just knew the face was familiar. That's why I just.
So what do you know? I did know him.
And now you say his name. I'm like, yeah, I even know who he is.
Yeah,
Like he doesn't. Again, like
but you wouldn't
age.
know it
He
was
aged.
him,
Like it's the
right?
age.
Because we were kids.
Yeah.
But like when I was able to see his face, and now you're like, oh, he most probably was down here by 38th. It was like that's Joey Bridge,
Because
like
he used to
bang,
always want to come in and hang out with me, you, and Ray, but we would never.
yeah,
This is probably going to sound horrible, people, but it is what it is. We were kids. He was kind of like that kid that we picked on, like,
right.
because like he was like,
Yeah, we're just no. I'm not even gonna get into it. We were just horrible people at the time. We were kids.
We were kids, but like no, but he was like that kid in the neighborhood that like again, this is gonna sound horrible. Like nobody wanted to play with, like nobody wanted to hang out with. He was the
Just
annoying little kid. Like
he
he
could
was
just
like that.
be.
He was like
Yeah,
that annoying little brother that you don't want hanging around.
yeah. Like get out of my room. Like I'm with my friends.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like he always would come down. I remember knocking on the door. Hey guys, can I come in? And you'd be like, nope. Shut the door.
I was like known for that, dude. No,
Or
don't.
Noel would be like, they're not here. He'd be like, I just saw them go in. They're not here.
They're not here. When
But
I swear to God, like, I can. I'll tell her after we're done. I'm like, I know who that was. She'll be
yeah,
like, it took you all fucking day. You goddamn fucking right. Once Eric pieced the puzzle over here, I was like, oh shit, I do know him.
you gotta chime me in. I want to be a part of that call because I want to hear the surprise in her whenever she figured we should tell her. But yeah, but you see, that's what I mean. But that's what this day does for us. Like going back to the neighborhood, like shit like this happens. Like you said, like your sister was like, "Oh, did you see Marty Ann?" Like I saw her before I saw any of the other Coin family, and then they all started slowly showing up and hang because they were hanging out right in front of the Teamster steps,
Okay.
right, like so, like kind of catty corner from us, like across the street. And it's funny because I hadn't seen the Coin again. I know they still live in Lawrenceville and everything, but it's like I hadn't seen them in years, years. I mean, you figure they grew up across the street from me. Again, we were a little bit older at that time. I think we had just hit high school by the time they had moved in, but they were still like a well-known family in Lawrenceville, because there was a
Yeah.
lot of them.
Yeah.
Um, so, but then when this specific family moved across the street from us, we got to know them more. Like my mom and dad would hang out with the
Yeah.
kids'
Yeah. Yeah.
parents and stuff like that. We got to know them very well, and it's like full circle weird. So my sister Nicole has a camp up. It's up in Butler, like up on the other side of Butler, and they have like a pool area, like a little arcade for the kids and stuff. Like it's kind of like centralized in the middle of the campground,
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
like a little event, place like that. You can rent like a pavilion. Like have a big hall pavilion thing you can rent for parties and stuff. But anyways, my sister I think was up there at the pool the one day, and they were there. So they share a campground in there with my sister.
See.
So last year we normally go up on Sunday. So like yesterday, my family all went up to my sister's camp for the day, and it's not that far. It's like hour-ish, just a little over an hour 15, hour 20. So it's not that bad of a drive. We've done it a few years now. So like me, my mom, and all my sisters, we go up there. But last year, my sister kind of surprised my mom a little bit, and she told the family that we were going to be there for Memorial Day. So they stopped down after dinner and hung out with us for like a bonfire. We were drinking, kids were making, s'mores, a whole 9 yards. So it was nice to catch up with them. So that's why it was funny seeing them all there, because I was like, oh shit, I guess they're not camping today. Like, because
Right.
again, I assumed they'd be up there with my sister, but um, it was just so that's how that kind of caught my eye and went. But I saw all of them over there. Um, and I'm like, yeah, just like again, that's what I mean. Like, you people watch, but it's just to see again to see some of the idiocy that is the general public.
Which
But
makes this show what it is.
yeah, but then it's also just to kind of see again, like who's still around, who's still alive, who's still kicking, who's doing this, who's doing,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
And
it's
then
just
you catch randoms like fucking Joey Bridge, who I have not. See, this is the thing is I have not seen Joe.
I we were kids.
Yeah, I want to say maybe between 12 and 14 is probably the last time I saw him. And then, of course, we moved to Keystone Street, and that started that whole thing. But, like, I haven't. So, how am I going to know who he is? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And then I saw his face, and I was like, well, he looks familiar.
that's
And
the
then,
feeling I felt because, like I said, I was sitting there talking to Char, and and then you and your sister were having that conversation, and I kind of caught my ear, and I'm like, I wonder who they're talking about. And I looked back, and I was like, oh yeah, that dude does look familiar. But again, I couldn't. Again, it kind of took my brain a little functioning also
Right.
to put two and two together, because I'm like, it wasn't a dude that I specifically hung out with, or like I would know, like, oh yeah, that dude was part of our crew back then, or like, you know what I mean, like.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, he's definitely a Lawrenceville guy. I don't know how we know him or who, but and then for him to say he knew your sister, like that's the other thing too, is I think one of the other reasons like we never really hung out with him was because he was younger than us.
Yeah.
He was again like our sister's age. So and that's the other reason I know him is because he played hockey he played deck hockey with us. I don't think I've ever played on the same team as him, but I played against him.
Right. Good old
So
McBeaver.
good old McBeaver. He'd be he's a McBeaver.
He could be a McBeaver.
I don't know where the Bieber came from. I think
I
it
don't
might have been
know,
the
dude, but
I
you
think
just hit it out the fucking. I was like, what? You were like,
well
yeah, good old McBeaver. I
I,
was like, who the fuck is McBeaver?
I think it might have been the blonde hair is where the Bieber part came from. But earlier today, while I was waiting for the girls to get ready, Mike had sent me a like handful of Instagram reels. And I'm scrolling through them, watching them. And he had sent me uh the clip of whenever dude got his ID, whenever dude got his McLovin ID.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like, McLovin? What kind of fucking name is that?
Right? What
With
do you
no first
steal?
name, it's just McLovin? He's like, well, what did you want me to pick, Mohammed? Like,
It was like it'd been better than fucking McLovin.
yeah. He's like, well, Muhammad is one of the number one names.
Yeah, right.
But so again, I had like McLovin fresh in my brain, and then that, and the Bieber part, I cannot specifically say where it came from. I just
Just
was like, yeah, that's McBieber. And then then Riley's like, yeah, that's McBieber. I'm like, see, Joe,
it
you don't
was
know who
like
McBeaver.
the best was her. She fell right into it too. She was like, yeah, he has like all these TikTok.
I was like, he's one of the biggest social influencers in the market right now.
And Riley's like, yeah, he's used on TikTok.
But here's the thing: now that we know who that is, far from the truth. The
Not even
complete,
close.
complete opposite of the spectrum there. Like,
Oh my
dude is
god.
nowhere near a social media influencer. And if he is, wow.
Yeah, God bless him. Like,
Like, but I was just like, yeah, that's who it is. I gave him a whole background story.
and the best was
And
Riley just
Rod
kept
just,
going with you.
and here's the thing, like, that's what happened when Riley is raised around us all
Around
over
us,
life.
yeah. Like,
He's like, well, I'm used to this. I got to play along or I'm going to look like an idiot.
well,
Like,
yeah. Then the best part was because it started. I was like, "Who the fuck's McBeaver?" And that's when Jane's like, "That's when my dad don't know somebody. You should know this by now." And I was like, "Yeah." And then you were like, "What? You really don't know who McBeaver is?" And then all of a sudden you started. And then Riley was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Wait, what? How the fuck? What is happening?"
you're like, I'm now outnumbered by the McBeaver people.
Right. I was like, I didn't know there was a McBeaver fucking following.
There was.
Oh my
There
god.
was.
But yeah, like, oh no, a fucking great weekend. Again, today was really, I mean, despite everything, it was a lot of fun. And now, now we got to go back to fucking normal lives. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, we're already one day through the week. We're short a day, so
yeah. I mean, I was like, I got a short day on Wednesday because we're getting towards the end of the school year. So you know, but I was like, I got other things. I got health things to look into tomorrow, and then he has a half day Wednesday, and then next thing you know, it'll be the fucking weekend all over again. Oh, I forgot. I was gonna mention this now. So I was on my way home, and um, that's that's around the time. Remember how my dad texted me about Little Caesars?
yeah.
Of course, if anybody doesn't know, my dad is the most random fucking guy in the world. Like, it's Memorial Day. He's like, hey, Little Caesars closed. What the fuck does that have to do today? But okay. So I was like, yeah, all right. And then the kind of dwindled off. We had lunch. Everybody went their separate ways. We're on our way home. And he was like, yeah, I went to Raccoon State Park. And I was like, okay. Like, how the fuck did we get from one end to the other? So I was like, okay. And he was like, "Yo, you should really take Xander. You know what?" And then it was like, "Oh, you should really take Xander." And I was like, "Man, yeah, that could be fun. You know, yeah, sure." And then I was gonna text him, and then he was like, "No, you know what? The next time I go, I want Xander to come with us." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay." Then all of a sudden he's like, "How about Saturday?" I was like, "I just had a long ass weekend, dude. Like, I can't keep doing this shit. I don't know how 21-year-old me did this shit."
Yeah, we I'll tell you this real quick. So I'm sitting, me, you, and Charles are standing there, and Riley invited us out to your mom's. So
Was unbeknownst to my mother.
I'm like, are we going out to mom's? You're like, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think my mom's prepared for people. And I'm like, okay. So you were like, let me just make sure she's not expecting us. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like you were feeling out the situation. So you pull out your phone and you're like, oh, Pop's texting me. And you're like, a whole Little Caesars thing. And I'm like, okay. So there was that.
Okay.
So you guys went over to the fountain. That's when I think you guys were trying to get the kids moving along. So I walked back over to the girls sitting on the blanket. And somebody, I don't know which one of them, said something like, oh, are we getting ready to go? And I'm like, well, I'm not sure what we're doing yet. And that's when that conversation was like, what are we doing? What's going on after this? The whole thing. And I'm like, I don't know. Paul was texting his mom, and she was like, "Oh, are we going out there?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't believe we are." I was like, he was just trying to figure it out because Riley mentioned it. He was just trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
Like, but he kind of got sidetracked because his dad texted him, and she was like, "Oh, is everything okay?" Like, kind of like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, his dad was upset because Little Caesars was closed by his house, and she was like, "Oh." So do we have to take Little Caesars out to his dad? And I'm like, no. I was like, no. I was like, it's okay. I was like, we're not going to Pops. I was like, he was just being senior and just bitching about Little Caesars being closed. She was like, so does he want Little Caesars? Like, she's now confused on why Little Caesars was brought into the mix. And I'm like, don't worry. So are we. But we're not going to get pizza. We're not going over to Paul's dad's. We're
Right.
not going over to Paul's mom's. Like, we're here. That's all we know. Like, that's all we know.
Well, that's what killed me is I was just like, what am I supposed to do with this text? Because
Like,
I was
oh
like, oh,
shucks,
it's my.
Dad.
I did because I was like, oh, cool, it's my dad, and I was just thought like maybe Happy Memorial Day, some shit like that. And it
Yeah,
was like Little Caesars is closed again. I was like, what?
that's what
And
I told her. So my only response to Brandy and Donna was just senior being senior. I was like, I don't know. There's no explanation to it at all.
right. Well, the best was Um, I forget what happened. I I think I forget what I guess the girls saw us laughing or whatever. And they were like, "What's going on?" You were like, "We're going, we're going to Paul's dad for Little Caesars." I was like,
Because again,
"Caesars is closed."
there was a confusing conversation, and again, like and again, I specifically said no, we're not going. So I figured, well, maybe they'll think there's a change of plans if I say, hey, we're going.
Right, right. I was just like, oh, "All right, what the fuck?" Yeah, but God bless him. I love him to death. I love both of them. But it was just so funny. Like he's talking about Little Caesars, and then my mom's fucking taking a picture from bed. Like, I'm not expecting anybody. This is where I'm gonna be. And I was like, all right. Like
You might want to let your daughter and granddaughter know not
yeah,
to.
you might want to let especially your granddaughter know, like, unbeknownst to you, she's trying to bring people to your house. And then the best part was she was like, if you're coming, I'll get up. No, like you don't have to. Like I get it. You had a long weekend. I'm still trying to wrap my head around Little Caesars.
Like that. The Little Caesars didn't even know they were open on Memorial Day. So
Right? I was like, I didn't know. Were you trying to get like a pizza that's like a pepperoni like flag and with the fucking cheesy bread. I don't know what you're up to, but I was just like, okay, okay, Dad. Like,
And then he ends out at a raccoon state park.
yeah. And then he went from here to here, and I was like,
And that's a far from here to here.
yeah, that's one hell of a jaunt. And I was just like, is he like? First, I wanted to be like, are you having a stroke? Like, like what's happening? Because it's like Little Caesars is closed. We went to Raccoon State Park. What? I
Uh,
love you, dude, but what the fuck are you talking about right now?
I heard their Little Caesars is open.
He went for the fucking crazy puffs or whatever the fuck they have. He was just into it. He was like, I can't go wrong with this marinara. Oh, fuck, can't even get it. He, he was like, there ain't no hot and ready. It's cold and old. Like, yeah.
Oh God, I love them.
Oh my god. Well, I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their short week. Um, we'll be back Monday, of course, with a brand new episode. And again, hope everybody had a safe and happy holiday. As always, follow us, like our stuff, and I'm not going to keep plugging it. This is what we do. We do it every week. Until next week, I'm the Big Cho. That's Big E, and we will see you next week. Later.
Later.